Hello everyone and welcome to the Jet Budgets webinar presented by the newly rebranded Jet Global. All right, so a few housekeeping items. First, I'll start with the introductions. I am Ashley Canali, a Client Strategy Manager here at Interdyne Artists. Presenting today is going to be Mike Hoffman, who is the Channel Sales Manager at Jet Global. Second, as far as questions, if you'll please put your questions in the question box. We'll answer all of those at the end. Lastly, we'll be recording this webinar, so once it's over, we'll send that out to you all once it's ready. All right, and Vision 2019 is, registration is now open, so that is our yearly user conference. This year it's going to be 2 days, April 23rd and 24th, here in Charlotte at the Ritz-Carlton. If you register now, you're going to get early bird pricing, which is $50 off, so make sure you do that. Day one is going to be Dynamics 365, Customer Engagement, Business Central, things of that nature, as well as emerging technologies. Day two is going to be GP, as well as some emerging technologies as well. So hope to see you there. And at this time, we will turn it over to Mike. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Ashley. Perfect. Thanks for the warm introduction. I'm looking forward to Vision. I think this will be our third year now of coming out there, so looking forward to that. So the topic of our webinar today is specific to budgeting. The reason I'm going to show this slide, just in case there's some unfamiliarity with who Jet is or our name change recently to Jet Global, it's really just rebranding. And so we now offer reporting for GP, Business Central, and NAV, budgeting for all three, as well as analytics. And so for those of you who are on the call today, just know the topic is budgeting. We're going to spend 95% of our time there. But I just wanted folks a general understanding of who we are. We were called Jet Reports. We are now called Jet Global. Still the same company, right? 2002 is when we started. Financial reporting in Excel was revolutionary at that time. Now, today, it's really what people expect. They're expecting financials in Excel. They expect them to look nice, and they want them 30 seconds after everything's closed, right? And so we're really in the business of making it easier for the average finance professional, accounting professional to do that, to meet those expectations. And we've done so really so well that Microsoft has chosen to partner with us for their ERPs in particular. And so the numbers up here that you see, the 14,000 plus companies and over 200,000 users, I mean, very great to see. But the reason they're important for you, I know why they're important for me, but the reason they're important for anyone on this call is you've made an investment into the Microsoft technologies. I just want you to know, when you work with a company like Jet, whether it's reporting or budgeting or analytics, your investment is safe because we have a rich history, strong roadmap into the future, and that's just really who we've always been, is the data people for the Microsoft family. So one of the questions we get a lot also is, what do you specialize in? Well, a lot. We have a lot of people here who have experience from really all over the world in terms of solving data challenges, and everything is scalable. So if today you're a small to mid-sized business with aspirations of moving globally, just know we've seen that. We've been in talks with companies that are as small as 2 employees all the way up to some of the bigger names you see on this slide today. So just know we scale, and everybody needs access to the data. Everybody needs budgeting. Most need assistance with that because the traditional methodologies have left something to be desired, and that's really the gap that we fill. So Jet Reports, which we will demo after we demo Jet budgets is the reporting. So the way to actually get your actuals from your ERP, so from GP or Business Central or Nav, into Excel in a refreshable format that's portable, that eliminates the errors that typically coming from the manual copying and pasting right within Excel. And so when we're wanting to compare where we've been versus where we want to go and project out into the future, Jet Reports is the Excel add-in of both the past, present, and future of being able to do that all in one place. The Jet Hub is actually where a lot of our time will be spent today. Think of the Jet Hub as a place to collaborate, share, input budgets, as well as assign workflows that really take the tough work of tracking down if I'm using the right report or am I inputting information to the right budget. That's what the hub solves, is all of the challenges around security and manually sharing these files. It's now all in one place, and you can access this on any device that connects to the internet. So the meat and potatoes, right? Jet budget. So this solution was launched, it's already been over a month, and it went through an extensive beta testing, and I can tell you this solution is built specifically for the small to mid-size market. And the reason for that is that's what we were asked for. So during our time at the conferences, we heard everything from, you know, what I'm using today is not enough to what I'm investigating or what I'm using today is too much. Like I'm either managing inconsistent spreadsheets like you see here and reconciling and being uncertain of whether I have the right number or not is dreadful, or what I have today is too much, you know, in terms of either learning curve or investment. And so what we did is we built something that took really the best of both worlds. Is we want the flexibility of creating budgets that can be collaborated on by someone who is not familiar with the GL, but we also don't want to have to take a class every time we want to go back and budget. So our agenda today is really product tour, who are the types of users, and how to build a budget and build a report off of that budget. The core features of Jet Budgets is it's web-based, so it's going to live in the Jet Hub. And you can also have data entry right there within the web, or pull it down into Excel and create budgets within an Excel template. So we'll see both, okay? When I mention workflow stems from the feedback we received during the beta. Is, you know, as much as I like the flexibility of Excel, the inability to manage how often I'm reaching out to somebody or when a budget is actually going to get finished is very time consuming and very draining, because the budget owner always knows that day is coming where they're going to be at their desk. It's going to be the end of the month or the end of the year, and they will be at work until 7, 8, 9 o'clock reconciling budgets together, sometimes longer. We've heard horror stories. So that's the reason these core features exist. And again, Nav, Business Central, or GP. Okay, types of users. So users may fill more than one role, right? So just because you own a budget in one place, so you're managing a budget in one place, does not mean you can't approve or contribute to other budgets or other forecasts, for that matter. And really, if we were to lay this out, I mean, I think the names pretty well define what it is that they're doing. But you'll learn more as we go through the demo. You have an owner, a contributor, and an approver, all of which are defined in the JET licenses as viewers, so you don't pay specifically for each individual user. It's all included with JET. Budget creation is where we're going to start. So budget owners create the budgets in the web portal. They choose what companies are actually going to be included in this budget. The next piece is the actual budget structure, where we're now defining, okay, these are the accounts we want included, but how would we like that organized and or structured? So we'll go through that, as well as user management. So being able to add users or groups of users really directly from the web is a great way to streamline who's involved in your budgeting process. So with that being said, I'm going to hop into the demo portion. And so we'll go into the web portal to start off with. And so when I log into the web portal, what I'm presented with is a personalized view of reporting, dashboarding, and budgeting. So depending on what modules I'm using, they're all available right over here. So we'll use this app picker, go to budgets. Okay, so what I see here are the budgets that I own, right? I don't see budgets that I don't have a role in or that I don't own. This is really what we see. And so for each of these particular budgets, I've created. And so I'm going to show you what it looks like to actually create one from scratch to start off with. So I'll click New Budget. And we can name this whatever we'd like. So I will call this 2021. We're really thinking about the future here. And I'll use GP. And then you would choose, if you have multiple companies, you would just choose which one you want to budget for. And then also the date range. So I'll go ahead and do a full year budget. The next thing that we are asked is, what is your natural account? In my particular database, it is segment code 2, but it will show all of your account segment codes here. You just simply choose which one's your natural. Then you ask, can I include the other segments? Well, yeah. You just choose which ones you want to be included. So now we have our 2021 budget, right? But there's nothing, there's no structure. We don't see any data that's been entered so far. And so really that is the next step. So as the budget owner, I'll go over into the work section. And now I can add a section or a work item, okay? So a section, I'll just add a couple here. So we'll do like revenue, expenses, say like travel, marketing. And so the reason I'm doing this is because it's probably driving some people crazy thinking, well, marketing is an expense and sales is revenue, right? So you can organize this however you want. So most cases, we're going to have revenue at the very top, right? Maybe we want to add sales to revenue, and expenses are below that. And maybe we want marketing and travel to actually be, travel to be included. Can you add? Thank you. Travel into marketing expenses. But again, you can structure this however you want, right? So in expenses, maybe you have payroll is obviously a common one that can be a little more complex. But again, all we're doing is creating structure here. So this part is very simple. It's just a matter of how do I want it to appear over here. You can see we have this structure now. Again, no data has been entered because we either, one, haven't entered or assigned any work, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is under expenses, I'm going to add maybe a more fixed cost. Call it rent, one that's not really going to change over time. And the reason I'm doing this is when I go to add a new work item, I'm presented with two different options. I can enter the data, or I can assign this to someone else to do. In this case, I'm going to enter the data myself. And the next step is choosing what accounts are actually included in this particular budget. So as I have over here on the left, we have our natural account, and you're always going to see the names that are associated with those natural accounts. So it can be very nice for someone maybe who doesn't know all the ins and outs of the GL when they're creating a budget. But most of the folks who are going to be budget owners probably have a good understanding of that. I'm going just down to my rent expense, which you can see here. The next step is going to be adding filters, or what we would call slicers, to this particular budget. So I'll use segment 1, for example, and you can see here I have all these individual locations. So instead, I'm actually going to slice this by department first. So for my column, I want this to be an admin expense, but I do want it for each particular location. Okay, so now each location has their own rent expense. It's categorized to admin. Now when I click finish, again, two different options. I can enter the data online, meaning I can just submit it this way, or I can enter the data into Excel. Using Excel online is very, very efficient if you know you don't necessarily have a need for complex calculations, meaning there's no real performance drivers. I'm not needing to link out to other Excel documents. I just really need to enter data. And so what this looks like for rent in particular, maybe each location is $20,000 a month. You could just pull this directly over. You do have access to some basic calculations, so I could say this equals this particular cell times a percentage amount, or do some kind of basic mathematics, but it's not necessarily meant for complex calculations like Excel locally is. But as Excel Online gets better, you will be able to do that, which is pretty neat. So in this case, I have rent submitted. Now, because I'm both the owner and approver, when I hit save and submit, this is actually going to go into the budget as approved. Okay? So the next example I want to show is, well, what if I don't want to do all this work, right? I actually want to assign this out. I want someone else to kind of burden their particular department. So when I come back into the work section, maybe we'll do sales. We'll add a new work item here. You can assign to another user. To assign to another user, we have to add some more people to our budgets. So when I click add, any user listed as a Jet Reports user will be available to you here, and you can add them to your Jet budgets. So now when I go back to the work section, we have our approver and contributor. We'll add a new work item here, and we'll assign this out. We'll call this sales. And you can see here again, we have the same structure, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just budgeting for something else. So as we scroll down, we'll typically come across account names that look like sales or something like that. Mine is 4100, but again, you'll have your names here. In this case, again, I'm going to start with segment 3 as the column. We'll call it for the sales department. And then we're also going to say for all locations. Click next. Now this is where I assign specific users. So under the approver page, I'll select a particular approver. Same for contributor. Here is where you can actually share optional allocations. So you can say, well, my expectations are roughly a certain amount. So maybe we'll put like $1 million in revenue here, right? This is great for two reasons. One is you're not limiting them from adding more or less. It's really a way of sharing notes. So traditionally, someone would have to communicate this via email or communicate this via a document of some sort. And now you can actually share that in the very first touch that they get. So again, it won't limit them, but it will give them a recommended starting point. And then the next step is setting a deadline. So when we set deadlines, really what we're talking about doing is putting a time-sensitive workflow into place for these users. So instead of you having to email them leading up to this deadline, there are ways to enable reminders that will do that for you automatically. We'll say this one is due before Christmas. You can force data entry into Excel, meaning if you know you've attached supporting documents here, like maybe it's actuals from last year or it's sales and cost of goods sold from last year, whatever it is. I mean, in fact, it could be even a JET report that you've loaded here to help with the user to understand what their forecast and their prediction should be. You can do that. You can say, well, this is not meant to be entered into the Excel online version, and then you can share a note. So you can say, please don't wait until Christmas, and then force that. But once you're done, all you do is you simply hit send, and then this will send out to that contributor and approver. And you can see here that it hasn't been started yet, but now they've received emails for that, okay? And as you continue to create these templates, you can actually store them for future use under a template section. So if each department or each manager has roughly the same structure to their actual budget, you can actually pick and pull from those templates instead of starting from scratch, which is nice. So if we go back to our overview, what we've done so far is we've entered rent expense in on my own. So it's approved, but the overall expenses is not approved yet. It's just complete. Same with sales. Sales has not been started yet, but we can see progress. We can see we're actually starting to kind of put some structure to this. So if I go back to all of the budgets that I've created, and I'll go into one that maybe has a little bit more. Oops. Let me double click on that. You can see what it looks like to have a little bit more meat to it, okay? So if I wanted to copy this budget for next year or next quarter, there's two things that I really want to point out that are important for any user of ERP. One is, what if my account structure has changed? Well, the good news is you can actually just refresh those segment codes and pull in all of the new accounts that you have. The second is, am I starting from scratch? Meaning, if I want to start reforecasting, how easy is it to do so? That is one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we received from users, is that they were saving so much more time on their processes for budgeting that they were able to reforecast quarterly now instead of dreading it just once a year. So when I hit copy budget, and we'll just call this Q2 2018, and we'll say, for the second quarter, you can pull everything over, or you can leave some things behind. So when we talk about attachments or who's assigned what type of assignment, you can bring all of those over, or you can say our assumptions have changed. right? We don't want to pull over our budget allocation. We want all of the same approvers, contributors, and folks involved, but we don't necessarily want the allocation. Then you just click create. And you can see all of this was pulled over. Okay. All of the work items are still there. It's great. So the reminder section, you can enable reminders as well. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. But basically it's easy as clicking add reminder and saying, okay, 10 days before this deadline and 3 days, and then maybe every day after it's been due, repeating every day, right? So instead of you manually managing that, it looks simple, but I can tell you it definitely makes a world of difference being able to know that you don't have to manually send those emails to individuals to remind them. So what we've seen up to this point is entering data into the Excel online version. I'm going to show you what it looks like when we download a template. So I'll go back to our budget here. And we're just going to do sales, for example. We'll do this head counts. This head counts is in progress right here because I've downloaded this. I've already downloaded this file. And so what we had were users that as they went through our program, a lot of them were actually budgeting strictly in Excel. They were only using Excel. That was the main way that they were keeping track of this information. So there was a lot of history there, a lot of familiarity, maybe some spreadsheets that they wanted to integrate into the budgeting process, and that's totally doable. So one of the files that I have here was actually built by an end user who did go through our program, and so they were building a sales forecast based on expected work days and then holidays built in. And so all that we had seen so far had a lot to do with the GL account structure. Where are the numbers flowing back to? How is it structured? And so the average business person in sales, or marketing for that matter, they don't really understand what those GL account codes mean. To them, they just know this is what I'm responsible for, so I'm going to fill this out and send it back, and then traditionally it's landed on the controller's desk, and they're the ones responsible for entering that data into the budget and ultimately the CFO for approving it. So what we did is when we downloaded that file from the web-based interface, we're basically giving ourselves a way of having the best of both worlds. So I can say maybe each location has an individual manager. So I'll go to the manager section. This is their expected sales. And then as I drag this across, it actually drags from that worksheet I was just in. Okay? And so what's great now is now that it's tied together, the individual responsible for work days or expected sales totals can change any of the performance drivers. So this particular cell is a performance driver. So we can say, well, maybe we're expecting to sell more, but we're only going to work 19 days in January. Okay, so you can see now we have all these numbers that have changed based on performance drivers, 66, 69, and 73, where they've all updated now. Without the sales manager understanding anything about the GL, they were able to enter data into Excel and have it flow back. And then once they're done, they simply click this Send to Budgets button. Okay? And so it's really that simple. And it's really a matter of who are your users? Are they contributing? And do you want them to have to understand the underlying GL structure or not? There are so many different ways to create structure and form within Excel. We do have some templates that come out of the box, but we did want to ensure that people were aware of the flexibility available in Excel, which is why we have the templates. But anything that you're using today that is similar to this can easily be integrated into jet budgets. Okay? So that is really where I wanted to stop with jet budgets. And the reason for that is everybody has a different process. Top down, bottom up, zero-based budgeting, maybe encumbrance if you're from a school district, right? There's so many different ways to do it that if you're interested in learning more about your specific process, your specific flow, that's definitely something that we want to help with. We have experience with, as well as your partner, right? Interdyne Artist, great partner. They have experts in-house that are both experts on jet and on your business and are more than happy to partner with you in this endeavor. So specific questions, let us know or type in the box now. What I'm going to move to real quick is how I would report on this data. Because once the budget is done, once it's approved, once you've seen your budget finalized, you have two options. I can either write this back into my ERP, which you can do with Jet. I don't recommend it because what we're doing is we're storing that data in its own database already that you can report directly off of. So if you have more than, if you're needing to write data from jet budgets into your ERP just to report off of it, you don't have to do that anymore. That's the simplest way to put it. Because we can report directly from it using the Excel add-in and pointing to the jet database. So so yeah, that's the kind of next step is how do I get access to this information and what do I do next? So I'm going to actually build a report that is going to be from scratch, but it's going to be comparing actuals to our budgets. And so, and I want to see it broken out by department. And so I'm going to use our GL function for this. And so in each sheet, I want to see an individual department. And for those of you who haven't seen jet reports before, we do have videos and different things out there that explain this process a little more thoroughly. I'm going to go through it at a high level at least. Whoops, budgets and variance. So what I'm using is actually the GL function. And all it is a set of questions. And I'm just answering those questions. So in this case, where I want the information returned is in a row. What I'd like to see in each individual row is a specific account. Instead of picking an account, I'm going to ask Jet to look at the departmental code and pull all of the accounts from that. And then same thing with name. What do I want to see is the account name for which account. This one right here. And then same idea with balance. What I want to see in this column is the balance for which account. This one right here. And then we'll grab the starting and ending period. You can include unposted activity, which is nice, or change what company or companies you're running the report for right here. Oh. And then I'll go ahead and drag this over to budgets. and then simply choose budget instead of balance. And then choose what budget I'd like to see. So depending on how they're named, they're all going to be right here, so you can just choose one. Variance, pretty straightforward. This is just Excel. We're just doing some simple subtraction here. And at this point, we're basically done. But this is a report that you could keep and run kind of indefinitely. Oh, I put that in the wrong place. You could keep and kind of run indefinitely. And so we'll go to the JET. We'll go ahead and run this report. Oh, I might have cleared out the numbers there. But then you would just be able to change the, yeah, I sure did. Let me go back. You would be able to change the date range and actually get all new numbers. I don't know why that's giving me a hard time. But at the end of the day, it's really about kind of what it is that your organization is looking to accomplish with budgets. And so that's really what we do is we have, we actually have training videos online. We have videos that are based on top-down versus bottom-up type videos, different industries. There's so much information that's out there that we provide that there's just so much to cover. And so a lot of those videos and ways to access that, if you reach out to your account manager at Interdyne, they'll be able to provide those links to you. And we're more than happy to do so as well. But really what I wanted to do before I got any further into reporting or budgeting for that matter, I did want to see if there were any questions that have been typed in the questions box, because we do have some time remaining. And if we can answer some of the folks' questions that are on the call now, I think that could be beneficial. So actually, I don't know if you were the one monitoring that, if it was someone else, but are there any questions that have been typed into the questions box?
Yeah, not too far, but if you want to do that and then go over pricing, would be perfect. That's the only question that I have.
Okay. Okay. So what I will do is let's go ahead. I didn't have the pricing sheet up. So the beta product is not a beta product anymore, but those users, they were offered basically a discount to come on board. And the great news that I have for everybody on this call today is that same offer is being extended to you through the end of the year. And so there is a 50% discount on JET budgets through the end of the year. And so to receive JET budgets, you would need JET reports. But if you already have that, it's just the add-on. JET reports is really licensed by two main factors. One is how many designers that you would need, so report creators, and then how many data sources we'd be connecting to. So if you just have Business Central or you just have GP, those specifically are just one connector, right? And so once we kind of know generally the answer to those questions, we always provide unlimited viewers, which translates into unlimited budget users as well. So that end of the year discount is good through the third week of December, and basically is available through Interdyne Artist until that time. So actually, I don't know if you want me to get any more specific than that, but that's basically the offer that we have is half off through the end of the year.
That works. Thank you.
Okay. So the last piece that I did want to cover today with our time remaining was talking about analytics a little bit. So over here on the left-hand side, you see we've covered kind of reporting at a very basic level, automated distribution, budgeting, so meaning workflow, assigning that workflow out or completing it myself. Jet does also offer its own analytics engine, which can tie into budgets, which can tie into multiple data sources, and that allow you to create key performance indicators that are exposed either here via the website or right within Excel. And so if you're wanting some more information on that, we're more than happy to schedule some time to go through that. But these dashboards, I guess they're not going to load up, but oh, there we go. These dashboards basically are ways and means of analyzing large sets of data very quickly, which can be incorporated into your budget module. So these are performance styles. We can see how we're performing, and you can zoom into any of these particular visuals and swipe through them on really any device that connects to the internet. Okay. So with that being said, I did want to turn it back over to Interdine to probably close out unless anyone's typed information in the question boxes. I don't know.
Yep, not yet. So,
Okay.
obviously, if you have any questions, give you a few more seconds to throw those in there. But other than that, I think you did a great job, and I think this product is fabulous. So, everybody loves Jet, so we, love showing it off and showing what it can do. But if anyone wants to reach out to Chelsea, Lisa, or myself, if you have any other questions, want some more information, want to see something further, or ask specific questions, about your business and how that kind of fits in there, then you can reach out to us. But otherwise, I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.